fine print, and I'll just bring up the TFT manual here. This is a manual that we all love. It was written by us, not by an engineer. And we start right at the beginning of this on page 1 with a little block down here that says danger warning. Well, let me zoom in on that. It says hazard symbols and definitions of what you need to know. So the first 3 are danger, danger, danger. They have exclamation points. They end with serious injury or death. When you get to the question without the exclamation point, it just says, it could result in, property damage and it's hazardous, and, don't stick your finger in the electrical socket. And the last notice there is, it's hazardous, and if not avoided, could result in property damage. And the last one down the bottom says, this boiler must be installed by a licensed and trained heating technician or the warranty is void. Failure to properly install this unit may result in property damage, serious injury, or to occupants or possible death. Now, I just want to take a brief moment here. And Jason, there are some polls, if you didn't notice that. I forgot to mention that to you before. And I'll let you launch them and Ted read them. So if you would, launch poll question number 1, which is regards to the
last slide for just a sec. Is it possible still?
Sure. This slide?
So the other thing that nobody ever wants to talk about, the elephant in the room, is that under this warning sign, beyond all this serious stuff that can happen to occupants and property, is also premature failure of the boiler, for which we're not responsible.
Yeah, and that's true. Water quality, recirculation and damage to the heat exchanger. I mean, there's a, it's funny.
I just want to point that out. I know we've got. Let's not get off, but that's something I just felt I had to mention.
That's coming because that is one of the danger warning cautions. Just shortly, not far from now. So
okay.
So it is coming. Sorry. So poll question number 1, if you would, Jason.
All right, there you go. It's launched.
All right. How many times does the danger sign appear in the TFT INO? How many times does the danger sign appear in the TFT INO?
That's the dark black danger sign with the exclamation point that says danger sign, serious injury, and death.
So 1 time, 4 times, 16, or 32 times?
How's that question and answer going there, boys?
Wow, you got me thinking about this one. 57% said 16, 29% said 4. They're up. Numbers are changing. Let them steady. Let it get a steady state. They're going to get the steady state here. All right, here we go. 50 say 16, 25 say 32, and 25 say 4, and 1 person says 0.
Well, that's actually pretty good. You can end that poll.
All right.
You can end that poll, and now I'll reveal the answer. You ready for this?
32. Oh,
it
really?
only appears 16 times in the manual. All right, so if you would, Jason, the second warning sign, would you please launch poll question number 2?
There you go.
So this warning sign indicates a hazardous situation, if not avoided, could result in serious injury or death. Much like the first one, that indicates a hazardous situation, if not avoided, will result in serious injury or death. Well, that sounds pretty much the same, except for this one is not black and says danger. This one is gray and says warning and has the exclamation point. So how many times does this show up in the installation manual?
All right, they're leveling out here. They're getting a steady state here. All right. Somebody change your mind.
Can you advance that, Jason, so I can get another screen? I can't see what you're looking at there.
Oh, yeah, you should be able to see it. It's the poll questions, the percentage.
Yeah, I can't see how that's happening. Something weird. Maybe
it says 27% say, hold on, that closed to my accident. 27% say 16, 36% said 42, 18% say 69, and 18% say too many damn times.
All right, end that poll.
All right, I'll close it up. Ted, it should be on the right-hand side there.
I'm going to say this, that when you guys get into this, this is almost as bad as the danger sign, just slightly less. And for those of you who thought too many to count, you're almost right. It was the magic number of 69 times in this manual. So, I mean, this is pretty serious when we have, 85 times that we tell you, dude, don't put your finger in the socket. You're going to kill somebody, right? But then we go to this caution, this one that could result in minor injury and moderate injury, minor moderate injury, not death, only appears 6 times. This caution without the exclamation point, which could just result in property damage, only appears 5. And the notice sign, which indicates a hazardous situation that could result in property damage, that shows up 28 times. And the warning at the very bottom that says failure property installed, this unit may result in property damage 5 times, but that's 129 times that we tell you there's warnings, dangers, and follow this. And I bet without a doubt that you should roll poll question number 3.
So listening to this so far, have you ever really read an I&O manual cover to cover? Of course, no way, or only when I have a problem.
I gotta tell you, I'm impressed. I think a lot of these guys read this manual. 90% say yes, of course. 0 say no way, using his knee pad. 10% say no reference. I gotta, somebody changed it. Go back, 18, 17.
So how many people have never read them? How many have said they have read it, percentage-wise?
83. 17
83%.
said no until they had a problem. I like that.
So that's I'm
true.
going to give you guys all in hand, but now we're going to find out how well you read this. So let's end that poll question.
That's kind of true. Some guys, may be familiar with the boiler, but when they get into that one problem, they reference to it. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So did you guys catch my lost? Did you guys catch my Lost in Space reference there?
Yeah.
No, I got it.
Danger, Will Robinson, and
Yeah.
and here we have then and now, right? So this is on the left hand side is what I grew up with on TV, and on the right hand side is the space is a Netflix now 3 seasons, which I've enjoyed every minute of it, and it got me thinking that the time frame between them was a lot of years. I mean, that was 50 years between them, but let's just take 20 years between us and look at these 2 boilers now we've changed. We went from a control on the side and the L-shaped bracket and everything smashed into a hole to the TRX in that amount of time, and it's phenomenal. I mean, much like the covers here are different, right? So you look at that, and the guy has push buttons and it doesn't even have articulated hands. He has clampers, right? And the new guy has fingers and no buttons. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I digress. So let's flip that page to manual, that manual to page 2. Let's see. We're 25 minutes into this, and we're at page 2. So Jason, you got to give me a little chance here. So that warning now, if you look don't look close. Here it goes. If you do not follow these instructions exactly, a fire or explosion may result, causing property damage, serious injury, or death. We'll talk about what causes the explosions shortly, but just know that if you don't follow this stuff, you can have a problem. And then down below here, there's 2 more warnings. And the one warning is the crystalline silicate warning, which says if you scrape and sniff the insulation inside of the chamber, it has been known to cause cancer in only Californians. So if you no,
only Californians. Okay.
So, but no, you have to be careful of that.
That disclaimer there, actually.
But then it says you void the warranty if you fire the boiler without flowing water through it. Duh. I mean, and we have to tell you this, guys. I mean, this is the fine print that nobody reads. You just blow right over it.
We have to tell you where to put the vent. You have to put a little sticker above the vent.
Well, let's
actually
be honest and to give
that's code.
To give most of
that's
our
code, yeah.
some credit.
Actually, that's actually mass code tells you must do that. By the way, and we'll get to that in a minute. So anyway, so let's go to now. We'll just flip to page 3, and we go to danger, and it says read and understand the manual. Now, 87% of you people on here did. That's phenomenal. Failure to follow the instructions outlined in this document will result in property damage, serious injury, or death. We haven't yet told you to avoid the warranty, but we're getting to that. So what we're saying is RTFM first. Read the manual first. So now let's, page 3 down the bottom. There's user responsibilities and installer responsibilities. And did you know that if we look right here, where's my pointer? If we look under, it is also your responsibility. It's the installer's responsibility. It is also your responsibility to inform the user and owner of their obligation with respect to the above description under user responsibilities. User responsibility. It has to be installed and serviced by qualified install technicians. This boiler must be serviced and inspected annually when operating in normal residential applications. Demanding applications or extreme conditions like commercial may require more frequent service. As the user owner of this equipment, you're responsible for ensuring the maintenance is performed at the required intervals. See section 14 of annual maintenance. Failure to have this boiler properly serviced and inspected on a regular basis by qualified service technician or property damage will cause damage, serious injury, or death. Failure to keep the vent and combustion intake clear of snow and debris may result in property damage, serious injury, or death. And later we give you the same.
Guthrie in the massacre.
Bum, 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 bum. Serious injury and death. I'm sorry. Anyway, so
Just get right to the end.
I mean, this is what we're talking about, guys. This is, we have homeowners call us at the office and go, well, what do you mean? I was never told that. It's not our responsibility as the manufacturer to tell the person you're installing the boiler for, to tell them how it has to be maintained. It's your responsibility. And we haven't even got past page 3 and we've told you this. And this is not the only time we tell you this in this book.
Furthermore,
So
that's
now,
not a bad thing. Let me just say, that's not a bad thing. That is your opportunity to explain why you're charging them to come back every year.
That's right. Printing money, right, Steve? Send them a birthday card.
Exactly. And if you don't, if you don't tell them, they don't know, and they don't get somebody to do it. If you do tell them and you don't offer them a service contract, it's a crapshoot if you're going to get the job.
exactly. Remember, it's
So
never
that's a good
outpriced.
thing. You point to that right there in the book, and you explain to them why that needs to be done.
And you only have to go to page 3. You only have to go to page 3. I mean, you don't have to go to you don't have to go to page section 14. You just have to go to page 3. Okay, good.
By page 3, we're already making you money. You haven't even put the boiler in yet.
So page 4 is one of my most favorite that says, this thing comes as natural gas, please convert it. If you're going to propane. Duh. And I've had 2 in the past year that have not had the conversion kit put in and were fired to propane. And as they were melting the burner off, they couldn't figure out what was wrong. They couldn't set the combustion. And they ran them that way for 3 months before they put their analyzer on it. And by that time, it was already too late. And at a pisser. So then down the bottom here, it says we're category 4 boiler, special venting. The exhaust gases must be piped directly to the outdoors. And I go, why would you have to say that? And I had a guy who fired the boiler without having the exhaust attached. In under 5 minutes, the alarm system in the house went off saying that there was a carbon monoxide problem. And then the police and the fire department and the ambulances showed up. And he's talking to me on the phone going, I don't understand what I did wrong. But anyway, now let's talk about the state of Massachusetts for a minute. Ted's fine home state that I love. And I'm just going to, I'm not going to read all of this because I'm not going to. It really doesn't, it pertains to us, but not to this decree. I just want to point out that here is the state of Massachusetts that says at the time of installation of a horizontally vented gas-fueled equipment, the installing plumber or gas fitter shall observe, doesn't say that they shall install it. It says, shall observe that a hardwired carbon monoxide detector with an alarm and battery backup is installed on the floor level where the gas equipment is to be installed. Oh, well, wait a minute, that's not all. An additional level and one on each additional level of the dwelling, building, or structure served by the equipment. It shall be the responsibility of the property owner to secure the services of a qualified licensed professional to install the hardwired carbon monoxide detectors. Now, you know that all of us here, as your prompters and as your instructors and as
They're
your
all
presenters,
wireless, battery operated.
have all been telling you to hang a carbon monoxide above the unit, carbon monoxide detector, and put your name on it. But this is telling you that it has to be hardwired if you're in the state of Massachusetts. So
Well,
That's that little fine print.
it's building code here anyway. So if it's a relatively recent building, that's already going to be standard. If it's an older building, they're going to have to fix it no matter whose equipment is going in.
Do
So
they
I
make
just
you
thought
put
that-
sprinklers in too? Sprinkler, the new construction gets sprinklers now.
Well, I don't, that we're getting into a whole different code. I'm just saying this bit about the carbon
Yeah.
monoxide
That's the
detector
fine
is
print
already
right
in
there.
the code here. So
anyway,
it's in
so
the building.
That's
Just-
an eye opener.
just know that our good friends in Massachusetts want to enforce the fact you need carbon monoxide detectors. So now let's go to page 6. Oh, I skipped a page, didn't I? Wow. So there's this little area down below of, this is nothing more than the specification sheet. You know how many BTUs the units run, what the capacity is, what the IBR rating is, what the DOE is, blah, 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 right? So, but down the bottom here, bottom of that cube is this, listed input ratings are rated at minimum vent lengths of 10 feet each way at an altitude of 0 to 2,000 feet. Numbers will be lower with longer venting or altitudes greater than 2,000 feet. Big deal. The D rating for length of piping is so little you wouldn't know it, but the D rating to go over is listed below. 2,000 feet is listed below. Ratings are standard procedures, blah, 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 blah. Over 300,000, you use thermal efficiencies. That's what number 2 is. And the TFT requires special venting system, use only venting material methods detailed in these instructions. So far we've mentioned venting, I think 3 times or 4 times, and we're on page 6. I think it's pretty important, but I digress. Let's go to the next one. Down below here, high altitude operation. And what I want to point out is the warning at the bottom where it says it's the installer's responsibility to check the combustion and adjust the combustion in accordance with section 9. I don't have a lot of places over 2,000 feet in my territory. Ted has a couple up north, up in the high country of his area. Our Midwest guy, or our Western guy who has Colorado, has a lot more. And he has guys putting these boilers in and walking away without following. And we're not even on page 6. I haven't asked you to read the entire thing yet. I'm just at page 6. And we're already telling you, which we do later in the book, to use a combustion analyzer when you put these in. Anyway, so the TFT and I know manual, page 7, warning. Water and flood damage components must be replaced immediately with new factory-approved components. As failure to do so may result in fire, serious injury, or death. Do not say anything, gentlemen, but launch poll question number 4, would you please?
Yes, sir. Poll question number 4. There you go.
Well, here we go. Should you repair a boiler that has been submerged in a flood? Sure, why not? Dry it off, we're good to go. Or replace the wet parts and rock and roll. That's a possibility. Or no way. ASHRAE states to never repair a flooded boiler. Please select one. Our votes don't count.
Okay. 75% say no way. ASHRAE states you never should replace a flooded boiler. 17 say replace just the wet parts. Yes. And then 8% say no, they'll dry out. Oh, okay. Good.
Good. So I will simply say this, that the ASHRAE standards by ASME code say that you cannot replace parts on a boiler that's been flooded. You have to replace the boiler. I look at all the times growing up, I didn't know this with atmospheric gas boilers that we just replaced the gas valve and walked away. I had one the other day that was flooded. When we first talked to the homeowner, the boiler was flooded totally. Then the next time we talked to her, it was just got wet a little bit. And then the third time, oh, the water came in through the vent in the side next to it and splashed the boiler a little bit. But it took out all the controls, and we told them that, you know, the harness is going to be toast in short order. And, you know, it keeps blowing fuses and they were replacing parts. And we said, don't replace, you know, call your homeowners, replace it. And they said, well, we don't have flood insurance. Well, if it wasn't flooded, then what are you worried about flood insurance? If it's water damage, that's one thing. If it wasn't a flood, then you should be able to go to your homeowners. And all of a sudden, the homeowner started stuttering and stammering. And what am I going to do? I can't change the codes, right? So anyway, let's look at the next one. Closet alcoves. I love this one. If you haven't read this before, and if you are installing boilers in limited space areas, meaning if it's a tight area, it's considered a closet, whether it's a closet or not, meaning if you're not hanging clothes, and it doesn't matter if it's a tight area, it's a tight area. It just says that you cannot use PVC inside that closet, period. So if you haven't read that before, no, even intake and exhaust, doesn't matter. They don't specify. You cannot use PVC in that closet. Next page. All right, more on venting, general venting. Let's go in and look at these. So vent and air inlet are to be piped separately. I saw one that a guy made his own concentric adapter and just used a piece of 4-inch pipe, PVC, and put a 4x3x3 Y on it and put 2 pieces of 3-inch on the Y. And couldn't figure out why his boiler wouldn't fire. Yeah, he saw a picture of a concentric vent, didn't understand about the pipe in the middle. The TFT cannot share a common vent or air inlet with multiple boilers unless the common venting system has been certified by NTI. Failure to comply result in serious injury or death. Do not install said boiler into a common venting system any other boiler. Failure to comply, it's because we're going to pick up the venting. And next thing, when existing boiler is removed from a common venting system is likely to be too large. Check your sizing. If you take the existing boiler off of a common chimney, the common chimney may be too small, too big, I mean. You might have to align it. Oh, surprise. And then you'll find out that 90% of the chimneys out there on today's standards using today's equipment should have been lined anyway. Next page. All right, let's look at page 11. Let's zoom in on the boiler shall be located as not interfere with proper circulation and combustion, ventilation, and ventilation air. Make up air requirements. The operation of exhaust fans, kitchen ventilation systems, clothes dryers, fireplaces shall be considered. I was in a house that was worth quite a few $1 million, and the guy said, stand here. I'm in his living room next to his fireplace. It's not a gas fireplace. It's a natural wood fireplace because he wanted natural wood. He likes it. He said, stand here, would you? I said, why? He said, just stand here for me, would you? He goes over and turns the switch at the top of the steps on for his boiler, and his boiler comes on. And I watched the ashes come out of the fireplace and go across the beautiful white carpet. So boys, when you're looking at this, if you want to take inside air, please reconsider it. Please make sure you pipe your intake and exhaust outside.
So I want to just say this so we can visualize how much air the typical 150,000 BTU boiler needs. Envision an empty 53-foot truck, enclosed truck, you know, like it's for transport. And it needs that much air on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah, so, I always said twin 42s, Ted.
Twin 42s.
So, but now let's look at where you're drawing your air from. You know, one of the things that's not listed here: contaminated sources, laundry facilities, dry cleaning, farms and areas of livestock and manure. Did you know that pig pee will rot out a TFT 250, now 285, in under 6 months? Good. Woodworking or furniture refinishing shops, swimming pools, auto body, refrigeration, beauty shops, photo lab, chemical, concrete. Products to avoid. I mean, this is all this stuff that's listed. And do not store gasoline or other flammable shit inside the area where the boiler is.
No, that's
and then down the bottom it says, The best practice is to pipe the combustion air inlet directly to the outdoors. Direct ventilation to avoid contamination, often contained in indoor air. But when you do that, you got to avoid all these other areas. Yeah, if you're in a body shop and you're blowing the fumes from the spray booth where the intake is for the boiler, it's not going to work well. If you have your intake down below next to the pigsty, it's not going to work well. If you have a pool, just a boiler in a closet where people are storing their chlorine, it's not going to work out well. So take these to heed. So now down the bottom, flammable solvents and plastic piping. Due to the extreme flammable characteristics of glue, cements, and solvents primers used in the process of joining plastic venting and air inlet pipe, explosive solvent vapors must be evacuated from the vent and air inlet prior to startup. Avoid using excess cement or primer that may lead to pooling inside the pipe assembly. Freshly assembled pipe assembly should be allowed to cure for a minimum of 8 hours before applying power to the gas-fired boiler. Refer to the mandatory pre-commissioning procedure for plastic venting.
8
Folks,
hours.
in my territory, I've seen a minimum of 2 boilers blow up due to primer and PVC glue fumes.
PVC,
And all,
when it explodes as shrapnel, it will kill you.
yes, it will. One guy took out the front of a brand new, the elbow on the inlet blew off and took out the front of the lady's brand new cheap Grand Cherokee. And it was leaking antifreeze all over the ground. She had just pulled in from the dealer with it when they fired the boiler. This is not a situation I want to be in. I had one guy with a TFT 154 that blew the polypropylene base off it and sharded it in 15 pieces. I caution you of 2 things. 1, shrapnel. 2, you're not going to hear for 3 or 4 hours. 3, your ears will probably ring like mine do on a full-time basis for the rest of your life. And 4, it's extremely hazardous and could kill you. So please, danger, 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 exclamation point, black label. You're gonna kill somebody. Please make sure you purge out the products of PVC glue and solvent. It's as easy, and you can go through the pre-commissioning, folks, but I tell people in class, all you have to do is when you're sweeping up the floor is remove 24 volt to the blower and walk away. And the blower will run at 100%. It will blow all those fumes out. You let that go for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then hook it back up and fire the boiler. It's not that hard. While you're cleaning up your tools, while you're sweeping the floor, while you're throwing out the outside sensor and the plug for the outside sensor. Oh, that's right. You're not supposed to throw those out. Clean up and do it. Anyway, next page. Let's look at the top. Mandatory pre-commissioning procedure.
Yeah.
Do not apply power. Remove the spark ignition circuit. I just told you how to do it our way. You can follow this way. I'm not going to tell you which way to do it, but it's in the book if you want to read it. Down the bottom, make sure the gaskets are seated. Make sure you bevel the pipe before you shove it in. PVC exhaust venting. Do not insert PVC directly into the appliance exhaust adapter. We give you a piece of CPVC for that, and then you use multi-purpose glue to put your PVC coupling on to go to PVC. It's not that hard. It really is not. So please, you can bevel it and slide it in, not cut it. Put a little Central Lube on it or a little KY jelly. PVC exhaust venting, don't insert it directly in. And if you're using polypropylene or stainless, when using propylene, make sure you have the appropriate appliance adapter. Some of our boilers take appliance adapters and some do not. Read the book. Speaking of books, here it is. Now, I know this is going to sound weird. First off, let me go back here. I just want to tell you guys, I have seen at least 4 boilers a year that PVC shoved directly into the vent exhaust.
Oh, yeah.
Without using minimum of 4 that I've been on. So imagine how many are out there, because I don't go on all the boilers.
You don't even know about. You don't even know about.
Mm-hmm. So please, guys, make sure that you use that. So let me move to the next page. Now here's one for you. Don't use cell core on the exhaust. No shit. If you're using cell core, if you're using PVC at all, 1, you should reconsider how you're installing boilers. And two, if you're using cell core, I just want to slap you in the face. You can use it on the intake, but not on the exhaust. And here's the problem. If you have both pipes on a job and your helper's cutting PVC and handing it to you, does he really know the difference between the cell core and the rigid? Just go with the rigid, or better yet, go with polypropylene, then you don't have to worry about this shit. So, and the second warning here is for a reason. The second warning here is for a reason. Covering non-metallic vent pipe and fittings with thermal insulation is prohibited. Failure to follow these instructions may result in property damage, blah, blah. We used to tell you on outside installations, you could run the pipe up to 20 feet if you covered it with insulation. The rules changed about 8-10 years ago, and we can't tell you that anymore. So when you install PVC pipe or any venting pipe, you cannot insulate it. So please understand that. Do not insulate the pipe. And down the bottom, and Jason loves to talk about this one. If you're reducing the venting on a TFT 60 to 110, or if you're taking a TRX 150 and reducing it, or you're taking an FTVN 150 and reducing it to 2-inch. Please note that when using 2-inch PVC venting, the first 7 equivalent feet of exhaust must be 3-inch or must be CPVC. So you can use 2-inch CPVC and put the reducer right into a reducing bushing directly into the exhaust, or reducer off the piece of CPVC we give you. But if you're using 2-inch PVC, the first 7 feet equivalent must be 2-inch CPVC or 3-inch PVC. An elbow is worth 5 feet. So you need 2 feet of pipe and an elbow. Not much, but you need it.
And that's you know, I got to tell you, go back to that page. I love that chart because that is one of the best charts in the world. When you look at that venting chart, to read that chart, knowing how many things you got here, that is one of my favorite charts right there. I love that chart. And it's simple. You understand it? You look at it. I mean, but hey, the other thing is you may want to tell them is, you know, some manufacturers have in their instructions, that's why you got to read them, that if whatever you use in the exhaust, you have to use for the fresh air. So if you're using polypropylene for your exhaust, you got to use it in your fresh air too. Kind of weird.
Make no mistake, we don't say that.
We don't say that, but some people do. Like Kevin Gerard brought up a good thing. He says, glad you guys are bringing this up. Remember a couple years ago, manufacturer said you didn't have to clean the units. We know who that is.
So anyway, Ted, you got something else?
No, I'm good.
So next, let's look at these. These are always fun. Sidewall termination due to potential moisture loading buildup along the exterior wall. Sidewall venting may not be preferred venting option. Go figure that one. Warning 2. Oh my goodness. The vent for this appliance shall not terminate over public walkways or near soffit vents or crawl space vents or other areas where condensate vapor would create a nuisance or hazard to cause property damage, or where condensate or vapor could cause damage or could be detrimental to the operation of regulation relief valves. Extra precautions shall be taken to adequately support the weight of the vent and air inlet piping and applications using rooftop terminations. I may say this, one of the first TI boilers I went out on in the city of Philadelphia had 45 feet of 3-inch PVC sitting directly on top of the boiler that was on top of one of our boiler stands that was bulging at the bottom because it couldn't support the weight. This is not the way you do an installation. But now I want to show you something really cool. That number 2, the middle, that the venting for this appliance shall not terminate over public walkways or where it could be a nuisance, right? So here's a picture that Anthony Tossi sent me. That's a walkway into a nice home out on Long Island. Let me zoom in on this. That gives you the full picture of what these people did, because that was dripping on the walkway causing ice.
That is very creative. I got to tell you, they get credit.
That's a good one.
They get credit for the artwork.
Well, it has to be new because it's not rotted out yet from the acidity of the condensate,
Absolutely.
right?
I mean, that gutter pipe isn't going to last very long, but it looks good now.
Or they replace it every year.
It's probably cheaper than the lawsuit he was going to get for the apartment, right? So, unbelievable. I thought you guys would appreciate that. So now here's a page. all of our books that people go, huh? And I want to look at this because nobody really reads this. Let me zoom in, and here's a lovely picture of a house with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Nobody knows where to look for these things. But if you go to the prior page before this, it's all listed out. And it tells you within this whole thing right here, number of inches above snow line, 12 inches, above grade roof line snow level, minimum vertical, blah, blah, blah. Outside corner, 0, doesn't matter. Inside corner, minimum 36 inches, I prefer 6 feet. Service regular, vent outlet, you have to be at least 36 inches because of Canada, but in my territory, it'd be 6 feet from any service regulator or vent outlet. Each side of the center line are above a meter. 36, it's 6 feet in my territory from electric meter or gas meter. Above a paved walkway or driveway, 7 feet. Above a public walkway, you can't have it over a public walkway. Above a sidewalk or paved driveway that's located between 2 single-family home dwellings, you can't do. I can tell you when I do this, there's going to be see how there's a V and then we're going to have SUVW after that. W is going to be if they're following international code like they do in Washington, D.C. If you go out in between 2 adjacent buildings, no opening on the adjacent building can be within 10 feet of the exhaust, which in the city, you know, is going to be near impossible.
Yeah.
So
how many jobs are
How
done?
wide does the alley have to be before that doesn't count? Like
over
adjacent
10, over
Like
10
how-
feet, Ted.
is
It's
adjacent.
got to be 10 feet. The guy came out literally in DC with a ruler, went to the vent, had one guy hold the vent and went to every window on it. Didn't matter. And if it was in 10 feet, so it's got to be a minimum of you know, if the windows are 15 feet high, it could be a 6 foot wide alley because we always tell you have the minimum 6 foot alley. But if the windows are on grade level and you're venting out at grade level, you got to be 10 feet. That's all there is to it. In fact, you have to be 10 feet 4 inches because the pipe's going to stick out that far. And he
Right.
measures from the end of the vent.
There are going to be challenges.
Oh,
Make
yeah.
sure you pay attention to that when you're putting your bid in.
And never vent into a canopy or carport. I thought that was pretty fun. Underneath a concrete veranda, under a concrete veranda, porch deck, or balcony, you have to be 24 inches underneath the concrete veranda, porch, or balcony. Of course, you can extend past it. And
How
then
many times
below
have
that
you
is,
seen that?
and a lot, too many, and I have 200 pictures of it. But anyway, this is all stuff that has come to us that has said this is what we need to put in because of local codes. And I will tell you this, gentlemen, that local code overrides anything that we put in here when it comes to distances from anything. So go to page 27. All tubing drains, let me zoom in. All tubing drains and surfaces that come in contact with condensate drain from the boiler must be constructed of corrosion resistant material. Copper, steel, and galvanized are not acceptable. You know, I had the owner of a very large contractor who uses a crap load of our boilers, do his own boiler in his house, and called me up after 6 weeks and said, your condensate rotted out my copper. I said, what? He says, well, I wanted it to look good, so I used copper for my condensate line. I said, did you neutralize it first? He says, no, that was going to the neutralizer. I said, do you not know that we're measuring pH levels down to 1.6 on condensate and copper's just going to rot away in like days? Oh, no. Okay, I replaced it with PVC. Duh. You know? Anyway, on we go. Down below here, this is important. The condensate trap must be periodically disassembled and cleaned. That is in our maintenance program later in the book. Carefully follow the instructions applied and make sure that the trap is secured to the bottom of the boiler and that no strain is placed on it. Yeah, don't hang your pipe off of our boiler, period. Vent pipe, gas pipe, condensate pipe, it should be supported and not supported by us. Next one. All right, let's zoom in on this. Strain on the gas valves and fittings. We tell you to put a piece of flexible in. Why? Because it's going to vibrate through the house and it could put weight on it and cause premature failure of interior parts of the boiler. Don't hang your pipe on our boiler. Do not use open flame to test for gas leaks. I wish I would have read that 50 years ago.
That's funny. When I first started at Dieter's, Herbie said that's how you guys used to check gas leaks. You get a lighter, he's like, go ahead, check it. I'm like, yeah,
Turn the
okay,
light
I'm gonna run right out and do that.
Turn the light off in the basement as long as you don't, I was told by the guys who I apprenticed under, as long as you don't lose pressure, you have no problem. You
Yeah,
lose pressure, you better be out of the building.
you're
Okay,
screwed.
good. When performing a pressure test, if you have to use more than half a PSI or 14 inches of water column, make sure you disconnect the union going to the boiler so the boiler cannot in any case ever see anything over 14 inches of water column, or you will destroy the gas valve. Cool?
Blow
Next
up.
one. Test all gas piping, internal and external. Now this applies to all boilers, not just the TFT. When you guys read all the other manuals, all this stuff I'm going through is in almost every single manual. Test all the gas piping inside and outside, especially if you converted like a TRX or FTVN to propane. You better be checking all the internal piping for gas leaks. And you should check it anyway. You don't know what happened in shipping. I had a guy had a leaky union and didn't catch it for 4 weeks. Well, did you test the piping? Oh, I never have a leak. Cool. Next one up. And Ted, this is for you.
For me?
Failure to follow the instructions provided in this section will void the NTI warranty and may result in property damage, fire, serious injury, and death. Boiler heating and system piping. Install it wrong. You failed your warranty. Next up,
I
water
just gotta
quality.
say, I'm a little concerned that we're gonna run out of time before we get to go through all the warnings in this book.
Nope.
Yeah,
Absolutely not, Ted, because they're all repeat 6 and 8 times through the book. So no, we're not. No, we're not. So anyway, next off we go. Ethylene glycol is prohibited for use in the boiler. You have to use polypropylene glycol or edible glycol. Do not run the boiler unintended until the following procedure is completed. Failure to comply. What does this mean? Test all the safeties. Test for leaks. Test the gas valve. Check what you've done. And the rest of the I-know manual is really standard piping and instructions, meaning this is how you pipe it. This is a standard system. This is how it should be. Except on pages 61 through 63, which are your maintenance and inspection instructions. Read them. If you don't maintain this boiler and if it's not inspected properly, if you don't schedule time for maintenance, your equipment will schedule it for you. So Ted, it's funny that you say that because our day has ended and I am done.
Thanks for watching the video today. If you'd like to check out more videos, see the link below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for all the future updates. And also check us out on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.